Hey, what is going on guys? It's Tharshey and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about my top 3 favorite factions slash campaigns in Total War Warhammer 3. So hope you guys do enjoy the video, and if you do, please do drop a like, comment and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn those post notifications. Anyways, let's get straight into it. So as I said, we're going to be going over the 3 factions and their associated campaigns in Warhammer 3 that I enjoy the most. You guys obviously may enjoy something else a lot more. Like, I know there's a lot of people who enjoy playing, the Empire and, summoning those elect accounts. But yeah, for me, it may be a little bit different. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what campaign you like the most, or, which campaign you found the most fun or the most enjoyable overall that you'd be willing to go back to and replay, later on down the line in Warhammer 3. And yeah, we're going to head straight into it. So, my first campaign, and these are in actually no particular order because I don't know how I would rank them, 3, 2, 1. I'm not sure which is my favorite from them. I mean, I kind of know, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's just going to be my top 3 favorite, but no particular order for, the way I'm going to go over them. But yeah, for number 1, we're going to go to the High Elves, and we're going to look at Alariel. And the reason for that is I just really like playing a High Elf faction that starts within Elthron and has to basically, help reunite the entirety of Elthron. One is probably because I really like elves when it comes to any, fantasy media, fantasy games, etc. Lord of the Rings, elves are my favorite race there. I mean, men are a close second because, Aragorn's the absolute legend, and, obviously the dwarves are just pretty cool, amazing fighters and all that. But yeah, I really like elves across all media and all fantasy types. So when I'm playing Warhammer 3, I was obviously attracted towards playing the High Elves, and my first campaign was actually with Alariel. I've played Imric Abyss, I've played Eltharion. Actually, wait, have I played him? Yeah, I think I have played Eltharion actually. But yeah, Alariel is just my favorite from all the High Elf factions because, basically holding Eltharion, gives you a whole bunch of buffs. So it's kind of the whole focus of our campaign is, to reunite the entirety of the High Elves' homeland of Eltharion under the control and the banners of the High Elves. And obviously, she's a really powerful spellcaster, and she also has handmaidens, which are a pretty nice hero unit to have. You can use them to kite the enemy, you can use them for actually assassinating enemy lords and stuff, depending on how you build them skill wise. But yeah, High Elves are one of my top 3 favorite campaigns slash factions to play in Warhammer 3, and from all the High Elves, I like Alariel the most because she's a pretty cool spellcaster. She has really nice healing, she has some pretty cool damage spells at later levels, and yeah, I just really like pushing out from her little island and, taking the inner circle of Eltharion, and then eventually, taking all the gates and then pushing out and securing the outer ring and stuff. And then once you have the entirety of Eltharion under your control and, you're friends with all the other High Elf factions, or you've confederated them, then you can push out, take on the Dark Elves, or push on to the east, however you want to play your campaign. It's kind of up to you. Now, the next one we're going to go over to is, well, I was debating kind of for a little bit because the one I picked is actually going to be Grimgor Ironhide because I really like the orcs, especially in Warhammer 40k, right? But that being said, I was considering going for a Skaven pick, especially where's my boy Ickleclaw? I was gonna go Ickleclaw for Clan Skyer, but yeah, I decided against it because I just like the orcs a bit more. So for those of you guys who are not familiar with 40k, orcs in 40k are just, well, they're actually very similar to orcs in Warhammer Fantasy. They absolutely love fighting. They wherever a fight is, the orcs are attracted towards it. They head towards it, and they just more and more orcs will go there, and it will turn into an absolute massacre for whoever they're going up against. Usually, it depends. Like that one fight against the Tyranids, and that was a crazy thing. But yeah, orcs love to fight. All they're about is summoning the war, going to war, and just wiping out their enemies. And in 40k, the longer they fight, the more advanced they get, and they start basically evolving and getting better and better because orcs at war makes them stronger basically. And in Warhammer Fantasy, I read up a bit on the lore and stuff, and Grimgor is an absolute boss. My guy has gone over. He's done some incredible things in his time, and I like Grimgor's campaign as well because I played it like two or three times now. Once was solo, the other two times or so were playing multiplayer with friends. We didn't get the furthest into that campaign, but I do like Grimgor's start. You start over here, you go, you wipe out a whole bunch of ogres and stuff. Then you can immediately, if you want, push west and go to Zarnagrund, which is, you can't cheese anymore, but it's a really tough fight, and I like it a lot. So what I usually do is I take on all these surrounding lands, I go north a bit, I wipe out, who's up north again? I forget, but I wipe out that guy, I wipe out all the ogres to the south. I get a nice big patch of land here that's basically all under, orc control. And then when I'm ready, I send over like 2 or 3 armies or whatever, and I deal with Zardagrun, get a nice high tier settlement there. And yeah, I really like playing Grimgor. His campaign is fun. He's a cool lord, melee specialist. You can just throw him in and just send him to wipe out enemies. And obviously, I like the lore behind the orcs, both from 40k and even in fantasy, because they're kind of similar, in both, especially the way they spread and they, put spores everywhere and all that stuff. So yeah, really, really fun faction to play. I mean, the other orcs are also pretty cool. Obviously, I have not played Skarsnik or Gorbad because they're DLCs I don't own. But I have played Warzag, I've played Grom. I don't really like Grom. I mean, it's decent, but it's not my style. I think my cousin likes playing as him, actually. But yeah, for me, it's Grimgor for the greenskins. Now, my last faction, or the last pick for this video, is going to be vampires. Not coast, but vampire counts. And the vampire count in question is going to be my boy Vlad von Karstein. You can obviously pick Isabella as well, but I just like playing as Vlad himself, not really for any specific game reasons, like, not because of Lord buffs or anything. In fact, Isabella is probably a bit better for that because she gets the hero capacity for vampires and stuff, right? But oh my god, look at her just murdering people. But yeah, for me, it's Vlad. I really like him because, so you start over here, right, in Sylvania. You immediately take off the other guys that own the other vampire faction that owns Templehof, Castle Templehof. And the whole thing that I like is Vlad and Isabella are like Romeo and Juliet. I was gonna say without the taking the poison at the end and dying, but they kind of do have that as well. But yeah, I read up a bunch on their lore and I really liked it, and I ended up playing their campaigns, and it's really cool playing the vampires because they are so hero based. Their army is not really good, honestly. I mean, obviously they have some decent higher tier units and stuff, but like for all the early fights in your campaign, you'll basically send Vlad with Isabella at his side and that one vampire that you start off with, and the 3 of them will solo entire armies. It's beautiful. I really like that. And they'll kill the starting army that you fight. Literally, you can send all 3 of them in, they'll wipe that entire army. You can go for the first siege on your first turn as well. They will take that as well, no issues. And yeah, even fighting the dwarves, okay, dwarves it's a bit harder. Dwarves have some heavy hitters. But yeah, you can just solo so many armies with just Vlad and Isabella. And that's the point I like the most about playing the vampire counts, is Vlad and Isabella are like your Romeo and Juliet kinda, and in lore. So obviously, Vlad married Isabella and she started teaching him about court and all that stuff. And, it was meant to be a marriage of convenience, but she ended up actually falling in love with him. And then as she grew old and, she was getting, she was going to end up passing away. And she was in a lot of pain. Vlad finally turned her, it restored her to youth, gave her vampiric power and all of that. And they became basically an undead power couple. And yeah, in game obviously you have both of them together as well, and you can just send them around in the same army, and they get buffs from that, which is actually really nice, so like you want to keep them together, and they can just go and do a whole lot of damage to all your enemies. You can wipe out, as I said, the other vampire faction. You can go south, you can wipe out Zufbar if you want. They have like 3 castles, I think 3 keeps, so it's pretty nice and not too hard to do either, and you can do it pretty early. And then you can go west if you want into the Empire fight, take out Avalan, Starland, whoever you want, because remember, Vlad is actually one of the Electricons. I'm pretty sure, right? If I'm wrong, someone correct me in the comment section, but he's also one of the Electricons, even though, he is now undead and all that. But yeah, you can go and take over the entirety of the Empire and bring it under, the von Karstein control of Vlad and Isabella. And in lore, when Vlad finally died, I forget which battle it was that, but he died. and then Isabella threw herself off a cliff, I think, and got impaled on the rocks or the spikes below and died because she didn't want to live without him. And then, they came back, and in the end times, what was it? Vlad was under, yeah, I think Vlad was under the control of Chaos and stuff, and Isabella was revived and fighting for the vampires. And yeah, it's a whole lot of really cool lore stuff. And obviously their campaign is a lot of fun. You start off, you can as I said, take over the empire, fight Zufbar, fight the other vamps, just expand, and you can have so many armies as well, because you can make an army, right, of your lord, maybe 2 vampires and a spellcaster or whatever you want, and then just have a bunch of chaff units. So throw in a bunch of zombies, or maybe some skeletons, whatever you want, really. You can even just have an army of direwolves and fellbats, just quick moving, do the research for them to make them a bit tanky and all that. And yeah, it's a really fun campaign. I really like it. And the starting army that you actually get with Vlad, on my current campaign that I'm playing as him, so I moved off all the other units I recruited. I recruit on his army still because it's cheaper, and then I just send them over to the other armies. But yeah, Vlad, Isabella, the starting vamp, and this starting army is all that he actually has, and I have no problem taking on full stacks. It's really cool. Just throw Vlad in, throw Isabella in, throw the vamp in. They'll just keep healing through regen, and you can spam Winds of Death and all of that stuff. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and if you did, please do drop a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and let me know down below in the comment section which factions or which campaigns specifically, do you really enjoy in Warhammer 3? Let me know what your 3 favorite picks are as well. So you got mine, right? It's in no particular order, though. If I had to put it in order, it would probably be the Vlad von Carstein campaign as number 1, followed by my Alariel campaign and reuniting the entirety of Elthuin, and my love for the High Elves as 2, and then my Grimgor campaign, and playing as the Orcs, summoning the War as number 3. That would probably be the order for me. But let me know in the comment section which factions you guys like, which campaigns you enjoy, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Konnichiwa.